Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to my comprehensive Galactic Legend rating. So I'm trying to rate and rank all these GLs in 12 total categories, ranging from PvP to PvE, acquisition. We're going to look at TW and GAC for PvP, and then focus on Conquest, TB for PvE. Unlike previous ratings, I did ask some of my guild leaders for help in the TW rating and the TB rating, so that helped. Just a few premises for this list before we get into it. This is not a prescriptive farming order. It doesn't mean you go down the list best to worst and farm the GLs in that order. I would recommend looking at the acquisition rating if you're trying to decide which one to go for out the gate. But some of these, are really good, but extremely hard to get and aren't really time effective with how you go about farming them. Premise number 2, higher is better. It's a 10-point scale, so the closer to 10 you are, the better. Even if we're ranking a category that's a negative, even if they get a higher rating in that, that's kind of more like a negative, it still means they're good, like they have less than the negative. Premise 3, not all categories are equal. I do have specific weighted values. GAC overall probably has the most because there's 4 different iterations. There's 5v5, offense and defense, and 3v3 offense and defense. And the next one, all Galactic Legends. This is new for me. All Galactic Legends are presumed to have their best team available for evaluation, including lifters, except for Bane. The reason I am kind of accepting Bane is because he, on his own, is basically a Galactic Legend. So that would be, you're not allowed to put 2 Galactic Legends together normally. Most of what Sith Eternal can do with the help of Bane is just something Bane might be able to do himself anyway. And then I'm not going to consider Bane an option for Lord Vader and things. Some instances, maybe Sith Eternal gets a slight bump because he technically can counter another GL with Bane, but it's not going to be a huge consideration. Last premise, this is a subjective evaluation based on my own experience, except for some guild officer input. So with that out of the way, let's jump into it. And to start, we're going to be looking at probably the most important rating, which is Grand Arena, both 5v5 and 3v3. There's a lot of numbers here. I'm not going to remark on every single one of them, but I'll try to give my general thoughts. There was a huge seismic shift in how all these Galactic Legends work against each other and just in the general scheme of things since the last time I did this rating. And last time I did this rating was August of 2024. And I think the biggest effects are Ahsoka came in and that switched up the balance of power with all these characters. JMK has taken some serious defensive hits, and this is my own rating. I didn't have anyone else have input on this, but I think JMK has taken some serious hits on defense because, and offense somewhat too, like 5v5 offense, I had to knock him down from a 9 last time I did the rating, because Balin exists. Balin is a hard counter to him in GAC. Ahsoka exists and is not very easily beaten by JMK. So those are 2 big downsides, but that's mainly 5v5, 3v3. I mean, if she doesn't have a lifter, I guess he can do it, but it's iffy. So he took a big hit. Also, there's Bo-Katan out there that sometimes can beat him. And yeah, it's all kinds of different stuff. Rey got a bit of a bump from the effects of Ezra. While Ezra is Ahsoka's lifter, I think I'm still counting him as available for Rey just because of how popular it is. And by the way, I'm not trying to factor in any specific datacrons or anything. If a character's really good perennially because just any datacron is good with them, it's kind of Rey usually finds a way to use any datacron. That's a little bit of a consideration, but I am not trying to give any regard to specific datacrons. Like Jabba, with his Hut Cartel datacron was a little bit better, but for the purpose of this video, he's a 6 in both offense and defense at 5v5. And Leia, even though Leia didn't change herself, I gave her a little bit of a bump in 5v5 offense because with Ahsoka here, she's one of the only counters to Ahsoka, and then also Lord Vader with his new clones. Honestly, she's getting closer and closer to a 10. But I'm pretty skimpy on giving 10s. It really has to be an extenuating circumstance. Slicker got a bump in 5v5, especially for just on offense, especially. On defense, he got bumped up to an 8-2, so he really improved for GAC, and that's because of Darkseid Ray. That's another thing. I was trying to think of all the things that have affected JMK in a negative fashion on defense, but the addition of Darkseid Ray makes it a lot easier to beat JMK. Seems like every new big release or a journey or conquest unit that's supposed to be really powerful is built with a target on JMK's back. They just want to nullify Cat insta-killing someone, just make it easier to counter him. So JMK gets beat by a lot of these teams, which is kind of sad. It's kind of crazy. Ahsoka, brand new to the scene. I gave her an 8 in everything. So you got a couple counters on defense in 5v5 and 3v3. Maybe I give her a 9 if more people set Ezra with her. I don't know. It's hard to gauge right away, and I do have her. I've had experience with her, so I felt like it was a good time to do this rating. But yeah, 8s across the board. She's very strong. So at the bottom, we're going to see the overall rating, which puts Lord Vader with his new clones, is what I'm assuming, at the top as the best. Leia and Supreme Leader Kylo are tied at 8.5. We got Rey and Ahsoka tied at 8. Then we got JMK at 7.25, Jabba at 6.75, and Jedi Master Luke at 5.25. So Jedi Master Luke and Sith Eternal are both at the bottom, but Jedi Master Luke is even lower. So this is where I kind of gave Sith Eternal a bit of a nod to Bane, with an 8 on offense and defense. So I am considering that he can beat a lot of stuff that he couldn't before with Bane. But if I was just trying to consider his overall power rating across the board, with Bane, I might give him a 9 just because that is such a crazy deadly combo and there's not too much that can beat it. But for the most part, people aren't putting Bane with Sith Eternal. It's just two amazing teams. So that's why I had it like that. And then JML, his only strong category is 5v5 offense, because when you have a whole team, he's a lot better. He doesn't really do well in 3v3 on either side. He's kind of like a cleanup for non-GL teams that aren't quite S tier. So kind of disappointing. Defense, pretty lackluster. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it for GAC. Really important category. Every category is a double, so that means a total weight of 8 for GAC as a whole. And now we move on to the other PvP, Territory Wars. This is where I had some input from 2 of my guild officers. I took both their scores, averaged them together with mine. So we have all kinds of decimal places across TW. At the very bottom, I have overall PvP score. This is averaging in GAC and TW with the higher weighting for GAC. I'm coming out with the overall PvP scores. So takeaways here: Lord Vader and Ahsoka and Leia are pretty sick in TW. Everything else is pretty mid. There is nothing else in the 7s or 8s other than those 3. Everything is like a 6 or something. Sith Eternal all the way in the toilet at 3.67. I think one of my officers gave him a 1 on defense, which, you know, it's nice to have outside input like that, because I don't even give scores that low, really, so it really brings Sith Eternal down even further. And his overall PvP score is getting brought up by GAC. But Jedi Luke, also terrible on defense, 3.67, 6.7. He's okay on offense, but Lord Vader and Leia are really just killing it. I think this is actually a 9.3 and not a 9.33, because I think some my guild officers gave rankings in decimal places, which kind of threw things off. But yeah, Lord Vader with his clones is just totally dominant. Awesome on defense, but there are a couple counters. Leia has Ahsoka has the highest rating on TW defense, where there's 2 TW Omicrons, and I can vouch. I tried taking it on with my Leia and couldn't even do it. But Leia is the answer to pretty much everyone. And sometimes, it doesn't even work. And I got some thoughts that I want to read off from my guild leaders about each one. So Ahsoka, the takeaway is that you need usually Leia or new Lord Vader to beat her on defense. That's why she's so high. And she can beat most other GLs on offense, but you wouldn't know it because she's always on defense. Leia really can be beaten by JML sometimes, Slicker sometimes. So there's a few counters to Leia, so that's why she's not as high on defense, but still pretty high. And she can pretty much kill any GL. Has trouble against Ahsoka, but still pretty much can. Jabba kind of middling, countered by a lot of GLs, after sometimes too, on and off. He beats double Omicron Great Mothers with these, and is hit or miss on other GLs. He's not going to beat Lord Vader, probably not going to beat Rey or Ahsoka. It's yeah, maybe Slicker, but yeah, it's just kind of hit or miss. Rey, low offensive rating, high defensive rating. She's just not really used on offense. The cheese isn't as viable on offense in TW as it is in GAC. GAC, it's not as popular, but it is still effective because the AI just goes for Ben and her and doesn't follow the conditions, and sometimes you can get lucky. And on defense in TW, she's mainly countered by JML, JMK, a lot of the other GLs. But you definitely need a GL most of the time. You can beat her sometimes with gas, so I don't know. Maybe my rating was a little lower and brought her down, but yeah, JML and Sith Draw. I mean, the observations, they just get crushed on defense. And then JMK, the takeaway is that he's beaten by the newest GLs a lot. JML sometimes can. He doesn't get crushed by Balin like he does in PvP, but he's still taking a hurting on defense. So yeah, that's going to be TW. It's just a lot to look at, so just take in all the numbers, okay? Factor them into your expectations for the final result. TW. And the overarching PvE category, we got Conquest, Rise of the Empire TB. Raids are 0. They used to be a factor, but since raids are just faction lock now, I don't consider that a factor at all. Assault battles plus, that means if they have an assault battle for extra income or at their own event, they'll get a boost here. So the 7s, they typically have 1 assault battle. And 8, you got 2 with Lord Vader. I guess JMK. Oh no, JMK is only in 1. But yeah, mostly just Lord Vader is eligible for 2 different assault battles. So that really helps Empire and Sith. Jabba, just bounty hunters. Ahsoka and Rey don't have any assault battles and no extra goodies for them, so they're just a 5. I didn't want it to hurt them too much. I didn't want to put them all the way down, but 5's kind of the floor for that. I don't know, maybe I still wanted it to be double weight so it could be weighted against everything else. But yeah, Jabba is the king because he can do an assault battle, and his Smuggler's Run 2 is extremely valuable. Leia has a 9 because she does have an assault battle, and she does have an extra little goodie in the 3rd tier of Forest Moon, or the AT-ST thing. You can get some Omicrons there, some relic materials. It's not a ton, so she doesn't get as much as Jabba there, but it's still something. It's still valuable. Conquest, I'm looking for, how often. In my experience, I use them to rely on feats, how confident I am that they're gonna clear with 3 stars. And the other ones kind of falling behind in that category are Sith Eternal and Supreme Leader Kylo. Supreme Leader Kylo, a lot of times there's a lot of turn-meter related data discs you use, and that ends up hurting him, and he's not great at keeping his team alive, so he gets a 6. Sith Eternal, also not great at keeping his team alive, so he gets a 6 as well. You can solo stuff with him, it just takes a long time. It's really slow, and it's kind of annoying. Most of these characters are 8. We got Rey, JMK, Lord Vader, Jabba, Leia, and Ahsoka at an 8 because I'm very confident they're going to get a win on auto. Even at middle stamina, like if they're at 10-20%, I might not be as confident, but I can always count on them to get a good win. They usually have some kind of iteration or interaction with data discs in a variety of comps or different combinations of data discs. They always have something that can work out well. JML, I just gave him the boost to 9 because he's super useful for any feat that requires getting kills with a light side character, because even if they don't do a lot of damage, you can call them to assist with Jedi Master Luke's leadership ability, even if they're not Jedi, and you can get a kill and it counts. So he gets a little bit of a boost there. But otherwise, that's Conquest, and it's a triple value just because Conquest is so impactful. Rise of the Empire as well as 3, but yeah, I considered bumping it down to 2, but overall, it's just such a large part of the game, even though the rewards aren't that flexible, honestly, give it based on your own input. So, but still a triple. And this is where I did get some input from my guild officers. And just like TW, I got 2 officers to rate and averaged with my own score. They were different officers as well, so just note that. We got some takeaways I'm going to share. So for Supreme Leader Kylo, one of the observations was he's strong in all places of TB, but his teams lack survivability. That's kind of my observation about Conquest. Sith Eternal, one of my officers gave an 8 and one gave a 1, and I gave, I don't know, 6 something. So he ended up at a 4. But the observation for one of my officers was that he's pretty usable, just doesn't do anything outstanding that others do. But a point against him is he prevents revives from Sith, so that kind of takes out a whole planet for viability in Dathomir, unless he's just another member of the team, which is always kind of awkward. Lord Vader's 8.5 out of 10 for one of my officers. One gave a 7, and I believe I gave an 8. He's just strong everywhere, but needs a lot of help. And the dark side clones aren't really there yet, so take that into consideration. Or never mind, I was looking at the 8.5. So I think, yeah, one gave a 9, one gave 8.5, and one gave 8. Jabba, 9.5. One of my officers gave him a 10, but I didn't. One gave a 9.5, I gave a 9. He's required all the way up through the middle, so he has probably the best value. The only thing against him, which is why I don't give him a 10, is because he doesn't have any special missions. And I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing. He's amazing. He's the best ROTE TB character out there. Second best, Leia. Just amazing. You can throw her in everywhere, and you don't even need her best team, and she's gonna get stuff done. Ahsoka, my takeaway, just from using her initially for a few TBs, is she's amazing. You can put her anywhere, pretty much auto it, and you're gonna not even get close to losing. At least I haven't found a planet where she struggles. She's just incredible. Including Zepho, which is tough, because I put her in with Ufus, not even all Spectres, and she still gets it done. JMK is 7.5, kind of like middle of the pack, because Cat is in a lot of ops, is one of the observations, which I wouldn't have thought of doing my rating. And then one of my officers said she's arguably Cat is much better with Rey, arguably, a lot of times, which I actually kind of agree on, and Rey gets a little bit of a higher rating than JMK. Jedi Master Luke, he's great with his good Jedi, but like he doesn't really carry things on his own, and a lot of the Jedi he has could be bolstering another team. And Rey, like one of my officers gave a 9 out of 10. I think one of them gave a 6 or a 7, and then I gave, I don't know. It kind of balanced out to 7.67, but she's pretty viable everywhere. I think she's awesome wherever I use her. Just some problem planets are, I think, Coruscant. She has a difficult time sometimes, or it comes close to losing. And then Braca, if you're not using Jedi Training, Rey lead. But yeah, that's most of my observations. I mean, pretty well balanced across. PvE, the overall winners are Jabba at the very top. Then we got Leia, followed by Lord Vader. And then we have a tie between JMK and Ahsoka. Ahsoka gets pulled down by the Assault Battles rating. And the absolute worst is Sith Eternal. JML seems like a PvE guy, but it's mainly just Conquest and Rise of the Empire. He is okay, but yeah. So yeah, that's PvE. And now we're going to look at acquisition and then average everything together. And now for the final macro category, we have acquisition. I'm going to put myself over that just because I don't have enough room on the screen. So this is all about how you acquire them, what you're getting when you decide to unlock them. And I added a new category this time around, and I think it helps clarify or bring a lot of clarity to which GL to go for, which GLs to go for first, and that is Conquest Unit Dependence. Because Conquest units are very hard to get in this game. If you weren't around when their individual conquest was out, it's going to take a very long time. For a new player, it takes a long time, especially if you're free, to get to 4 million, and then it's like 16, 17 months of proving grounds. So it takes a very long time, not very accessible. Even legendaries are more accessible if you do really decide to go for them. So a high score means you don't need a conquest unit at all or very little. There's other options, and the lower score the more they really depend on a conquest unit. So Rey is the lowest because she honestly depends on 2 conquest units. She's got her own lifter in Ben Solo, and now she uses 2 lifters in Ezra. So I'm sure there could be disagreement on giving her a rating like that. But she is a little bit lower than JMK and Ahsoka, who really rely on their lifters to be good. Ahsoka without Ezra is way, way worse. She does have good viability on defense, but she's not really doing much on offense. And JMK without Cat is just a sad state of affairs. Supreme Leader Kylo and Sith Eternal are 6. Sith Eternal does get a lot of use out of Bane, but most of the uses we're accustomed to having for Sith Eternal, he can do without Bane. So that's why he gets a little bit of a higher one. And then Supreme Leader Kylo, Darkseid Rey is fantastic for him, and that is what's needed. She is what's needed to help him reach his maximum potential, but he was still doing a lot before she came around, so I give him a 6. Leia, Jabba, and JML don't have Conquest Lifter units, and they are phenomenal with just the characters you need to unlock them. You have their whole team ready, basically. JML, you probably need a couple of extras, but none of them are relying on Conquest units to reach their full potential. Jabba and Leia especially, maybe I could give JML a 9. I don't know, but maybe I could rename this category Rare Character Dependence. I'm open to input on that. But yeah, Leia and Jabba really just stand out here with that in mind. Now, as far as ease of acquisition, we have the easiest being Sith Eternal Emperor. Overall resources required are very low, and the characters are not hard to get. He does require 1 ship. I think he requires Empire Bomber, but that is farmable with Galactic War Currency, the easiest way to farm a ship. So he is just top of the list there. That's his only category really in the whole rating system where he's best. Ahsoka is the absolute worst. 2. Maybe I should have given her a 1. But she requires multiple relic 9 characters. She requires a conquest unit in Cat. She requires, I think, General Skywalker, maybe. Just so many characters. Especially right now, she required 6 Marquis, I think. The least accessible Galactic Legend ever to come out in this game. She's really strong, but she's so hard to get. It's like, kind of don't even think about it. Lord Vader is difficult too, mainly just because he has a bunch of R8s. If you look at the resource requirements, which I don't have right now, like the Kyrotex and just gear and relic requirements are the highest of any GL except Ahsoka, I'm pretty sure. JMK, Jedi Master Luke, and Rey are all at a 6, and Supreme Lord Kylo are all at a 6. They're not bad, but they all have something that's kind of holding them back. JML, believe it or not, the one thing that's holding him back a little bit in my mind is requiring a ship farm that's on a hard node. That takes a very long time. Supreme Lord Kylo and Rey would have a better rating than JML because they require an entire fleet that you farm, Resistance fleet and a First Order fleet, or to get those capital ships. Or can you just buy them straight up now? I forget how all that works. But they require less characters overall. Like most GLs require 14, 15 units. They require 12, so a lot easier. JMK isn't too bad. He requires the. I don't know if he requires a ship off the top of my head, but he does require Wat Tambor, which counts against him, makes him a little bit harder to access. And then Leia and Jabba, they're not like a walk in the park, but they are not bad. I mean, Leia and Jabba were my first GLs that I got on my small account, and it wasn't too bad at all. They don't require any ships, and they do require a few Relic 7s or Relic 8 here and there, but overall they're just not bad. Requirement quality. While Ahsoka is hard to get, she does have really good requirements. They're all pretty much good characters. There's some garbage in there, but for the most part, rock solid. Slicker and Rey, I put them low, and you can argue with Darkseid Rey and with Zori that they come up, but those aren't actual requirements. So if I'm evaluating the requirements themselves, they're not the best. 2 8s for Lord Vader and JMK, just solid, really good quality overall. I think what you're getting there, especially with the Marauder for Bad Batch, as being probably the best ship in the game. And then JMK, you got, Watt-Tin Bore, you got a bunch of stuff you can run with JMK. Lord Vader, you have gas. There's some trash in there, but honestly, I didn't think of this. Tarkin got a rework, so Tarkin's good. Maybe that could bump up Lord Vader's quality. Sith Eternal has ages well. I mean, Sith Marauder has a good value. Darth Vader, Piet, just good stuff. Leia and Jabba, their big strengths are they can work well right out the gate as soon as you unlock them with their required units. The only change to a Jabba team, usually you want Embo is the optimal 5th instead of Boba Fett, but still Boba Fett works great. And then Leia, you can run Drogon, R2, what is it, Captain Rex, and 3PO and Chewie with her. If you don't have a CLS team, that's easy to do, but like if you just unlock her right away like that, it's fantastic comp for her. You also get CLS out of the deal. You get Scout Trooper. There's a lot of good stuff to be had there. So overall for acquisition, it's kind of up and down for some of these. But the top of the heap comes out for Jabba and Leia, followed by Sith Eternal and JML. Then we got Lord Vader at 6.67. That's mainly about quality. And for Conquest Unit Dependence, he's an 8. I think I forgot to talk about this when I was going over the whole thing. He's an 8 because with his new clones, technically he doesn't need any Conquest units. But for most players, they don't have those new characters up and running. So you need Maul in there. So he's kind of splitting the baby. But like by the time he has his new clones and they're accelerated, he'll be closer to a 9 or a 10. Probably 9 just because it's a lot of Chirotex and none of the characters are part of his unlock requirements. But yeah, JMK is a 6. And Ahsoka and Rey are at the bottom with 5. Ahsoka, that's because she's so hard to get. And for Rey, it's just she's just kind of meh in all these different categories. Actually, real quick correction. Rey is a 4.67, not a 5. I just got that math there. Didn't want to re-record that whole segment. So yeah. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the most concise statement of best GLs in the game. We're going to be going from worst to best here with the overall rating from PvP, PvE, acquisition. And the bottom, no huge surprise here. We got Sith Eternal Emperor, the same place he's been at since I started doing these rankings. I think he got a little bit of a quantitative improvement just from the addition of Bane a little bit. But still, overall, he's the worst. Second worst, but considerably better in the rating, 0.63 higher, is JML. So JML is mostly lackluster in PvP, but he makes up for it in PvE and some acquisition advantages. Rey, in the overall standings, she fell a lot, but her rating did not change much. Last time I did this ranking, she was a 7.29, and now she's a 7.23. She got a bit of a bump down with the Conquest Unit Dependence, a few bump ups here and there from Ezra actually making her better in the GAC ratings. But overall, she just kept getting edged out by new additions, reworks, so she is a bottom 3 GL, which is crazy. I am shocked, but it's just holistically across the game. Fourth from the bottom, Supreme Leader Kylo, and this is just a very jam-packed, high-quality GL list at the top, which is why he's down here. Which you'll see. It's hard. Like JML and Sith Eternal, the only easy calls is like bad GLs. But Supreme Leader Kylo, he had a substantial improvement from last time I did the rankings. I think it was like 6.7 or something last time I did it. I got a huge bump up, obviously, from Darkside Rey, being able to do a lot more in PvP, especially mainly Grand Arena, and that's the main thing that changed for him. And then he can counter like Ahsoka, like new stuff that comes out, so his value just overall increased mainly from JC. Now this next rating, I think, is the biggest shock to me of the whole thing. We have JMK, bottom 5. Oh, is exactly in the middle. He's ranked 5 out of 9, so 5th from the bottom, 5th from the top. 7.58. He really took a tumble. Part of that is the release of Balin, the release of Ahsoka, the release of Darkside Rey, everything going against him on defense in both Grand Arena and TW. But then also having my officers rate as well for TB and TW, I think that also gave him a hit because they rated him lower than I do. But that is crazy because JMK for the longest time was just like the best GL, unassailable. And I'm feeling it now. Like, I don't feel like he's as bulletproof of an option. I mean, he's super awesome to have on offense GAC, but I'm not like, oh, I can count on him to beat every GL. It's just not the same. And everything's designed around beating him. And then PvE wise, he doesn't add any extras. He's kind of difficult to get, and, so. And he's very conquest unit dependent. That's really hurting him too. So adding that category hurt him. Now for the top 4. At 4, we have Ahsoka. So Ahsoka 7.85, pushing everyone else down. I think it's a good spot for her. I mean, she's awesome in GAC. She's clearly awesome in TW if you invest the Omicrons. In TB, she blows it away, and then in Conquest, she's just as good as anyone else out there. The things hurting her the most are acquisition difficulties and lack of extra content, like or an assault battle or anything, but she's still killing it. So this is her debut in my ranking. 7.85, top 4, very solid. Number 3, we have Jabba the Hutt, 8.27. He took some hits in PvP in the rating, especially TW, with having input from other officers, but he's really pulled up. They bumped him up in TB compared to what I do most of the time. He's got his extra assault battles, extra goodies. He's relatively easy to get, and just solid all around. So, like, he's really benefiting from that PvE extra side as opposed to GAC and stuff. But he's no slouch in GAC either. So, number 3 for him, 8.27. So now we have the final 2 slots, and I think if you've been paying attention recently, they're not going to be a surprise. But number 2, we have Lord Vader, 8.81, which is insane. But this is considering his new clones. He might be experiencing a recency bump. I try to ask my officers to not consider Datacron specifically, but it's hard to completely remove that from consideration, so I don't know how I'll do without an Apocron. But with the new clones, he can pretty much beat anything for the most part. Really good on defense, very limited options for him. He's also, got a lot of PvE benefits because he's available for 2 different assault battles. He's really solid in Conquest. Rise of the Empire, really good. He's just all across the board really solid. And with new clones instead of Maul, he doesn't rely on Conquest units as much. So by process of elimination, I think you know who the final and best GL is. And that is Leia. 9.17 overall, which is nuts. That's the highest rating I've ever given any GL, I think. Or maybe I gave her higher when I was overrating her a little bit when she came out, but across the board, and getting her first on my small account has helped me value this as well too. I have her and Jabba. Can completely rely on her more than Jabba in pretty much any game mode. I mean, GAC, she's dominant. TW, dominant. Doesn't require any Omicrons to do her best. That is a crazy good value for her. Like, she is absolutely... there is argument for Jabba, like, just because of the mods that you get from having him. The slicing materials. But Leia is just so good. She works with a variety of rebels. You always want R2 and Drogon, but she can work with anything. TB, she just absolutely kills it. Conquest, kills it. GAC, go-to counter, and on defense, still scary. TW, need her for everything. She's just amazing. Just incredible. And she's not that hard to get. So she's absolutely the best GL, in my opinion. I think it's very clear-cut, and I think that bears out here. Even with Lord Vader's recent bump, he still didn't catch her. Jabba's struggles in GAC comparatively bring him down, and everyone else has ups and downs. So I am really happy with this list. We got a huge range all the way from 6.44 at the bottom to 9.17. A lot of strong, none of these are bad except kind of Sith Eternal. I'd say he's kind of bad for GL. But none of these are bad. It's a really strong list, but it's clear. Go for Leia first. I think that's a good idea. All right, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on these rankings and ratings. And I know opinions abound, so I'm happy to do this once in a while. I know I talk a lot, but hopefully that's fine. All right, thanks for watching.